on Daily Digest from now till Friday. He'll be back on Saturday to do the discuss with you. All right. So on Thursday, we'll be having a conversation about global censorship of the social media. I've got some fact checkers that will be joining me on the show. In case you have not heard, there's been this conversation about how Meta, that's Facebook, how they have abandoned fact checking on their platform. People said that Mr. Mark Zuckerberg bowed to pressure from incoming President of the United States, Donald Trump, who has always been against, fact checking on Facebook and all of it. In fact, Donald Trump had called Zuckerberg some really interesting names. But we know that on Zuckerberg's direct, what do you call it, opposition, whatever, that's on X, Twitter, formerly Twitter. They don't fact check on Twitter. What they have is community notes on Twitter. So Zuckerberg, and we know that Elon Musk runs Twitter, and Elon Musk is a very good backer of Donald Trump and all of that. Zuckerberg, in a bid to be in the good books of Trump, has yielded to pressure from Trump to say, okay, they too want to do what Twitter, that's X, is doing by allowing community notes. What that does is, I think we would all agree that quite a number of people, particularly people from the grassroots, use more Facebook than they use X, that's Twitter, which means that if there is going to be any information, any viral information, it probably would start from Facebook first before it gets to any other social media platforms, which makes fact-checking very, very integral to operations of Facebook. Now that is being taken away by Zuckerberg, leaving it in the hands of anybody and everybody who's got something to say about a particular news, especially in the era of AI, generative AI, that they can make anything look so real. They can create me and put me on social media, and they will say that I will be saying, no. The AI generated me will be saying that I am the stepson of Bola Tinubu, and you people will now come on the show and be like, Sheriff, you said this. So who is going to fact check that when that starts happening? Now, yeah, I've gone into it too much. It's our conversation for Thursday. We hope to have a good time on that conversation. Let me get on with our conversation for today that is equally as important. Right. And that is about prisoners rehabilitation, inmates rehabilitation. Okay, will have my head for calling it prisoners. Yeah, inmates rehabilitation. Right. Joke Aladesanmi is here from Celsir. Celsir is Center for Legal Support and Inmate Rehabilitation. Joke, good morning to you.
Good morning, Sheriff.
Yes, it's good to have you again. Happy New Year to you.
Same to you. Same to you. Thank you so much, Sheriff. And good to see you again.
Good to see you too. How is work going?
Good. We're starting off well, thinking of what we can improve on this year, what we can do better, and just coming up with innovative ideas on how to provide support to incarcerated persons. Not inmates, it's incarcerated persons.
Incarcerated persons. Hey, Joke has come again. So we're moved away from this to incarcerated persons. Lord, please help me. I need to remember this. All right. So I want to, before we get into the meat of our conversation, let me quickly talk about the Ruby House. I'm particularly interested in that. What's the update on that?
Oh, yeah. The Ruby House is actually going very well. So far, we've had, from last year, we've had like 7 women and 4 children. And it's just going exceptionally well. The women have learned, they've gotten into the trainings, the vocational training. Some of them has reunited with their families. The house is going well. It's still there. We're still welcoming formerly incarcerated women who are just coming out. We're still welcoming them, providing support, providing counseling, and just the support they need to be able to successfully reintegrate.
For those who are wondering what's Ruby House, please pardon our whatever. Please tell us what is Ruby House.
So Ruby House is actually the first halfway house for formerly incarcerated women in Nigeria, and is a house where women who are coming out of the prison, they can actually stay, rethink and just replan while they are getting support, like a community support, engage in counseling, in trainings, in the support that just helps them to be able to provide positively and productively to society.
How is it that people who had gone in to serve term, coming out with no skill, absolutely no skill?
Well, I wouldn't say absolutely no skill.
The mobile phone, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I wouldn't say absolutely no skill, but the truth remains that when we're talking about skills, because now we're going into rehabilitation, we're talking about the quality of it and the ability to be able to start off when they're out. So even if we have organizations go in to train them and provide all of that support, when they come out, they still don't know where to start from. A lot of them do not even have the capital to start anything. A lot of them do not even, maybe the skills they've learned is not even, is not the kind of skill that is productive enough, so all of that. So one of the things we do, and another thing is that a lot of times the intervention they get in prison might not really be personalized. What I mean is that's what is available. Let's do it. What we do differently is that when they're out, we ask them, what do you want to do? What would you love to do? What's your plan? What's your goal? And then we try to look out for partnership. Is there any makeup artist? For instance, we have someone in the house. Oh, when she came out, she told us, oh, I want to learn makeup artist and to also learn photography because I want to be able to edit the pictures. That's very clear goals. So we have to look out for, is there any makeup artist that is good around the halfway house where she can go for her training, and then link her up with the photographer we use as an organization for her to get the training. So we do a much more individualized, personalized training for women who are coming out from the prison.
Let's talk about rehabilitation in general now. The 2025 budget, you've got a problem with that.
Oh, yes, I have. And so as an organization, which you already know, Sheriff, is that we are very big on advocating for rehabilitation for incarcerated persons. And I started that because I saw a gap. I saw that there was just little conversation that was being said around how inmates are being empowered in prison. And that has formed the basis of our intervention. And when I say the basis, we've done so much. And today, I choose to actually give kudos to us as an organization because we've done education, we've set up libraries, we have a mobile library. Last year, we set up juvenile education program, education in the juvenile prisons. We've done all those things because it's all about how can we support them. These people will come back. Statistics shows that 95% of them will eventually come back. And so when we got to know about the 2025 budget, myself and my team were like, okay, let's even dig deeper. Let's see what is in the budget. We know that before now, the argument has always been for welfare. They are feeding, or they have enough money, and all of it has always been around feeding and conversations like that. But this is an area where we play. And so we checked to see what's the rehabilitation allocation, what it was. And to our utmost dismay, we discovered that there is no standalone provision for rehabilitation of incarcerated persons.
Not single line.
The line that was there reads rehabilitation and repairs. Rehabilitation and repairs, further down you are seeing constructions of prisons. So that already shows that they were not talking about the rehabilitations of the people. And you're also seeing welfare. Let me quickly mention that we have over 250 something prisons in Nigeria. Many people do not know. And then when we're looking at the figure that is being allocated to welfare, we're saying 19 million. That cannot also be rehabilitation.
For a year?
Yes. That's the budget.
For each prison?
No, the standalone allocation. And another thing is the welfare in that budget was actually under miscellaneous. So it's not even standalone. Now, this does not mean that there are no rehabilitation activities going on in prison. But what it says actually is that a lot of times they are being done by individuals.
Yeah, I was going to say who should be in charge of rehabilitation.
Organizations, churches, mosques. But the truth remains that the Nigerian Correctional Service Act, Section 2, and also Section 14, particularly provided for the objective of the service to provide rehabilitation and reformation to those who are in its custody. How on earth can that be omitted? And that tells us our perspective towards the rehabilitation of incarcerated persons. And Sheriff, sincerely, I'm really so pained. Last year, I was speaking to one of our beneficiaries, and the guy looked at me and he told me, he said he was crying. This is a grown man. He was crying, and he told me, he said, I feel useless to myself. I'm useless to the society. I'm useless to my children. My last born is in SS3. These are people's husbands, fathers, mothers. Are you saying because they come in conflict with the law, that should be the end of their lives? they will come back. That's what it is. No matter how angry we want to get, no matter how we want to say, let them be there. They've committed a crime. They've done that. They will come back. There is plea bargaining that would bring them back. There are terms of imprisonment that they would spend, and they would come back
into the society.
So are we going to keep living in the anger of what they've done, or what we are going to do to actually bring about public safety? That's what we should be concerned about. When we have, the truth remains that as long as rehabilitation is left for individuals, for organizations, for companies, we cannot successfully have a structured rehabilitation system in our service. We can't. I'm sure you've been following up on the California wildfire and all of that.
Right.
I hope you know that significant numbers of their firefighters are incarcerated people. They've trained them. They've worked in that capacity. Why? Because they can see that these are manpower. These are people who are healthy. Just give it to them. A lot of them, what they really want is that opportunity for them to be able to give back. And we have a system who just feels that that aspect is not important. Now we have organizations who maybe when they started off, they started with rehabilitation, but they are no more because we're talking about money here.
That's right.
Every now and then we are raising money for education. Please help us to pay for GCE for this person. Help us. But come, let's talk about it. They write the NECO GCE, which is a national institution.
That's right.
So now the prison is a national institution as well. Why can't there be, why can't they come together? Why can't there be a synergy where people who are in prison can actually write this exam? Why do we as individuals, as in corporation, have to go begging for those who are in prison to be empowered? And I'm not just talking about the adult prison. Even juveniles, even Boston institutions are not in our budget. They are not in our budget. I really wish I don't have to. The truth is, someone needs to say it.
Yeah.
And it's not out of like I said, rehabilitations are going on in the prisons, but the truth is there are no structures around it. When there are structures, our roles as stakeholders, our roles as friends of the service is to support what the service already has on
let
ground.
the service at least have something.
Exactly. It's for us to support.
That support can now come
to work with it
and aid it.
Yes, I must commend the service for giving us permission. The truth is, if you have any ideas to support in the prison, they will open their hands and support you. But the truth, let's speak the truth.
The service must stand up first.
They has to stand up. There has to be plans. We have farm centers. I hope you know we have farm centers. Farm centers that are as big that if they are well monitored, if they are well used, can even feed the nation.
Oh.
Yes, we have farm centers across different parts in the countries. But when it's not even provided for in our budget, how will these places be?
This is quite interesting, because someone had mentioned on my earlier show this morning that the federal government is to create large farms where incarcerated persons can go and work and all of that. That way they can be productive and also learn some skills, and also the country can have the benefits of it as a whole. But you're confirming that we have such already? Oh
yes, there are farm centers. You remember one of the conversations we had here some years ago when somebody called into the show and he mentioned that his uncle, I don't know if you can remember, his uncle who was in prison in abroad sponsored him through school.
I can't remember.
You can't remember? I can remember. Yes, that his uncle who was in prison abroad learned fashion. It was about fashion or something like that. Was actually the one who sponsored him. We need to be forward thinking. As a nation, we need to be innovative. And when we talk about innovation, it's not limited to just technology. It's not limited to just health or education. We're also talking about...
Joker, please, I'm sorry I have to button. Please hold your thought. Lagos will be right back in a moment. Let's take this break. Lagos, welcome back to Daily Digest with Jimmy Disu. I am Sheriff Quadri. Today we are looking at rehabilitation for incarcerated persons in Nigeria. I have the Executive Director, Center for Legal Support and Inmates Rehabilitation, Celsir, here. Joke Aladesanmi is with me in the studio, and we've been having very, very frank conversation. You can let us know, your own input. You can send us WhatsApp messages on 0809 597 5805. That is 0809 597 5805 on WhatsApp. As soon as we are ready with the telephone lines, I will make an announcement so that you can, calling via the telephone line as well. We're streaming on Facebook and on YouTube, so feel free to let us know your input concerning our conversation this morning. Joke, thank you again for taking time out to come have this very, very important conversation.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Let me take this message here very quickly. This one is from What is Abayomi? Abayomi says he would like to know if you are a member of Prison Fellowship of Nigeria.
Yeah, we actually work closely with them. As a matter of fact, they've attended a couple of our events. We're always at their events and all of that. So we work together with them.
Okay, all right. I'll take this message from Taiwo in Ileife. Taiwo says, on my contribution, I want to say this country has disappointed and failed every class of people living in it. Is it education or security or infrastructure or health or food or shelter or whatever? It is the same with the correctional service you're discussing. If not, why do the political elites, as they claim, go abroad to seek quality health care? It means we have been failed. What is now the solution to all these problems? Restructuring. If we don't restructure this society, I bet we are going nowhere, no matter how loud we are talking about them. That's what's your name? Taiwo from Ileife, who sent that in. Taiwo, thank you for sharing your thought. Jackie, please let's go further. Let's talk about the structure of in the prisons, in the correctional service that we're talking about for rehabilitation. What structure? What does it mean to have a structured rehabilitation program?
Right. Thank you very much. I'm going to first off take the hint from what the Act says. Okay. Right. If you look at Section 14 of the Act, particularly mentioned significant aspects of rehabilitation. Right. We have the education, we have the vocational training, we have they call it farming and husbandry, something like that, right? And without even trying to delve into the other aspect of rehab, because rehabilitation is actually very broad, and it also starts by providing having a much more people-centered approach towards it. Right. Now, let's look at what the Act already provides for. Let's even start by education. I must really say that when it comes to education, the service has taken some good steps. Like, for instance, they allow they write the National Open. They are enrolled to the National Open University in prison. Okay. They write the NECO and JAMB and all those things. But then let's look at it more closely. For instance, one of the reasons why we started our educational program in prison was because we discovered that they actually do not have access to it. They write the exams. How do they write the exams? Individuals coming together to pay. So you have to keep raising money for GCA, begging people money for donations to be able to pay for JAM for those who are in prison. But the truth remains that these bodies responsible for these exams, like I said earlier, they are national institutions. Right. We might not necessarily have to start asking individuals to do all of these things. You already know that what you have identified, that one of the ways of having of rehabilitating those in incarceration, because statistics already shows that a lot of them are actually illiterate, right? Sorry, permit me to use the word uneducated, right? And education can be a way. We need to look at rehabilitation from a much more, like I said, innovative approach. We need to look at it as a way of addressing some of the significant problem of the country. What I mean by that is look at the illiteracy level, address it. Look at the poverty level. I hope you know that one single inmate has almost direct connect with him, has almost like 10 people that are directly connected to him. And what I mean by that is I'm talking about his children, the wife, the parents, the extended family. So what that means is that if you have an incarcerated person, who is able to get his feet right, it might actually be impacting several others in very interesting way. And by the time we do that, we are gradually taking ourselves out from whatever state that we think we have right now. Now let's look at the education. Like I would want to pick on that, just not to waste your time. Right. And to take it in, for instance, from what is even happening in somewhere like South Africa. Yeah. South Africa, as long as you're in the facilities, it is mandatory for you to be enrolled for education, at least up to the putting it in the same level what we have in Nigeria, at least up to the SS3 level. It's mandatory. Mandatory.
It's not optional.
It's not optional. It's actually mandatory, because you're not looking at it as you're helping the individual. We need to look beyond we're helping this individual to looking at we're helping the society. We're helping the country as a whole to be able to provide support to this person. We understand that not everybody wants to also go to school. Yeah. But while we're trying to create ways of ensuring that there are proper education, permit me to say that a lot of our prisons does not even have schools in them. They don't even have schools, right? They do education, they write this exam, but it has to be a struggle. It has to be it doesn't have to be. If we are so conscious of the power, the transformative power of rehabilitation, of education, of vocational training,
right,
we would make significant progress. Now, with regards to the budget lines, right? I also want to take it in because when we saw that, we had to look at the other countries and then look at what is in their budget. Maybe it's a general thing, So we looked at countries around us, like Uganda, like Kenya, like South Africa, and we saw that there's a standalone subheading for rehabilitation. Under there, you are seeing education, you're seeing vocational training, you're seeing social integration, well spelled out, because those are the primary function of that institution. Those are the primary functions. So whatever thing that, no matter how kind, which I am so grateful for, they've given us the opportunity. As a matter of fact, as a Nigerian, if you go into the prison and say, okay, I want to provide social support, they will open their arms. But we cannot get the change we want that way, because the person that shows up today might not show up tomorrow.
Who is responsible for making sure that there is provision for inmate rehabilitation and reintegration and all of that in the budget?
Well, when we're talking about...
Is it the correctional service now?
We want to believe
or
that...
the Minister of Interior?
Well, no.
Or who is directly responsible for it?
I would want to believe that every institution has the ability to be able to put their budgets together. Every institution, because you have almost how many institutions under Ministry of Interior?
Yeah.
You also have immigration. You also have we can't say it's the Ministry of Interior. Like, the service has the responsibility. They are the ones that know what their problems are. They are the ones that know what the challenges are and the changes they want to make, and so they are the ones to put it together and present it. And I know that even though there might be some of the challenges that they might face, but they need to understand that this is a primary aspect of their work.
If the correctional service has failed, because this is what it is, and we have to call it what it is, if they fail to put this or to forward this to the budget 2025, does that mean that we have round pegs and square holes?
Well, the project right now is still, so the reason why we have to prioritize some of our advocacy right now is because it's still in the journey of it being accepted. I think right now is at the committee stage. So there are still some things that can be done. We have written letters.
So okay, I get it. You work with the prisons, and I'm not going to spare them this flack, by the way. This is as important as the one that came up in the news today, that it's been approved to have daily feeding allowance for inmates, 1,125 naira. It's as though that is what is important to the correctional service: feeding, not rehabilitation, not reintegration. That's why I asked earlier, do we have the right people there? If we don't, the government is listening. They can do something about it, because feeding is equally as important as rehabilitation.
Right.
Rehabilitation is empowering people for today, for tomorrow, for the future. Feeding is just for now. So in my mind, I'm thinking rehabilitation should take center stage. If you really want to help people, you call it correctional center, but the integral part of what makes you correctional center, you've omitted it in the budget. Please tell me I'm overthinking this.
Well, I would say that every aspect is important. Even the feeding is important as well. And personally, I would even want to commend the changes that was being made in terms of increasing the fee. Yeah. That's making some significant sense. We didn't start from here. We got here after several advocacy, and they've been able to increase it. I think the reason for advocacy basically is not primarily to highlight or to magnify that they failed, but to be able to provide that, to call them out to say this thing needs to be fixed. We can't always, like I said, rehabilitations happen in the centers. I need to emphasize on that. Only that it is actually being done by institutions and churches and mosques. The service needs to own it as a primary responsibility, have plans for it year in, year out, drop clear budget for it, and then make it happen. Then we as stakeholders can now provide the support, can now provide work with them to be able to get the result that we want.
Indeed. Okay, let's go take some comments that have come in. I've got this one here from Sunday on Facebook. Sunday says, why is that most of these politicians who know that one day they might... Okay, this is funny. He said one day they might end up in prison. They don't do something about the prison and the prisoners. That's what he's saying. The politicians should concern themselves more about the welfare of inmates, because they should know they'll end up there one day.
Well, I think the person is still, because it's still going to be an individual,
Yeah.
or a person, which is what is happening. But we're saying the service needs to own that responsibility. So
I totally agree with you. At this point in time, what do you think will be the most effective means of getting this message across to them? Because the budget, as we hear, will be passed today or tomorrow.
Well, that's why we're here. We've also written letters. We've submitted letters to the different institutions, and we are here to still put our voice out there to say that, please, this omission. And permit me to also mention, Sheriff, that the reason why we're taking this very personal this time around is because as far back as 2020, it has actually not been in that budget. So it's not even about who is there now and who is not there. As far back as 2020, it has been omitted. It's not there. So that's why we need to say,
what is correctional about the correctional centers if we don't do anything as institution, as the correctional service?
Yes, as the service. As the service, we every single yesterday we started our education. We resumed classes for education at the juvenile centers. So what I mean by that is there are rehabilitation interventions, but the service must own that responsibility. It's not just for the individuals or for the organizations to do.
Right,
and that's why it needs to be in the budget.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. There is need for the service to do something very drastic. I have Adebaba here who says, I can see Nigeria Correctional Service budget of 183,625,560. Billion actually, 183 billion, with details on page 393 of the 2025 national budget as posted on the office website. My issue is that just about 410 million was allocated to construction, provision of agricultural facilities, while the personnel cost is over 124 billion.
Well, Sheriff, the area where we play is rehabilitation. So, and that's the part where I'm holding on right to say this has to be done. Going into the other details of the budget.
Look, again,
I want to look at rehabilitation.
What this individual just pointed out underscored what I have been saying all morning, Joke. And I'm in tune with what you're saying as well. We have our priorities set wrong. We have our priorities misaligned with what the goal should be. Now we're putting a lot of money, 124 billion. Thank you, Adibaba, by the way. 124 billion personnel costs. Meager. I mean, look, if you mentioned some amounts on what do you call it now? The line of the budget that you mentioned that they allocated is 19 million or so. 19 million.
That's with regards to the welfare and
the welfare.
Yeah. It's also in the budget. It's a public document.
Yes. So we have 410 million here allocated to construction, provision of agricultural facilities, and all of that. But 124 billion for personnel costs. What happens to the inmate? Again, Joke, I am of the opinion that we don't care much about the inmates. We do not, they are not priority, they're not important. They're almost like we're doing them a favor to keep them somewhere because the law says keep them here. For their welfare, for their rehabilitation, for empowering them, we care less about those, except for organizations like yours and many more who have said that, look, these people deserve better. And remember, we had a conversation sometime 2 years ago or so about the number of inmates, former inmates who came out then returned back to crime. What could be responsible for that? A lack of skills, maybe? Lack of empowerment, maybe? But these are the things that the authorities must have seen, but then nobody's taking action. Nobody thinks it's important. Jackie?
Well, I think for me, one of the things I've observed is actually I would say the disposition towards the area that has always been my focus, which is the rehabilitation aspect of it.
Right.
And I think maybe I would interpret that some of their reactions has been from seeing how people come in there to provide support. and then maybe they just probably get carried away by that. Because people are always, if you go to the prison today, people are going, provide support, provide food, provide trainings, and all those things, but it can never be, we can't experience the success we want to see until we have the service owning that responsibility and making it happen.
Okay, I must say thank you to all the work that you do.
Thank you.
For the ladies in the Ruby House, I want to say they should just hang in there. I really, really trust that the future is bright for everybody.
Yes.
How is the library coming?
Well, the library is going well. We have a mobile library that goes around all of the centers. We still do that, and we're so proud of us. So I think we've run it for like four years now. It was actually, we started 2021 thereabout, and we're still going round every of the centers providing books to them, and we have book clubs too right there in the prison. Yes, so we have them reading and coming together. So if you have a book club out there, you want to partner with us, we'll be gladly partner with you. So going well.
Well done, Jackie. Well done, Celsir. Well done to the entire team. Thank you so much. If people would like to support what you do, how do they get across to you?
Well, you can reach out to us on any of our social media platform, or let me start by our website, Celsir, www.celsir. Celsir is spelled CELSIR.org, and that's the same name we use on our platform on Instagram, celsir.org. Same thing with LinkedIn, celsir.org, and you can send us a DM via there.
Right. And for those who have books, who have do you take clothes too?
Yes, we do.
Who have clothes as well, you can reach out to Celsir. They will be glad to take possession of those things. Jackie, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Lagos, that's our show this morning. Thank you for being a part of it. I'm Sheriff Quadri. What's Up Lagos with Feta and Stretch is next. Good morning to you.